own stuff. I have come to identify that the biggest issue that we have, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you're divorced, and trying to get back into relationships, um, is that we all, in some form or another, have a really bad issue with the demon called pride. And the issue with pride is that it keeps us from so much. It keeps us from communicating properly. It keeps us from communicating effectively, from hearing effectively, from stating what our actual desires, wants, and needs are. It keeps us from all of that. And subsequently, what it does is it keeps our relationships at a very simple level, and at a place where we don't give one another the space that's necessary to grow. Relationships, what makes relationships difficult for most of us, or what makes the spirit of pride so dangerous, is that in order for us to enter into healthy relationships, in order for us to be able to flourish and grow, in order for us to get the water that is necessary, we cannot function with pride properly, because pride is like a weed that strangles out any growth that could possibly happen in our lives. Now, before I say anything else, let me say that when I talk about pride and when I talk about relationships, I'm not even just talking about in your relationships between husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm referring to even in the way the relationships that we have with our employees, or the relationships that we have with our supervisors, or the relationships that we have with our friends, or the relationships as Christian leaders, or spiritual leaders that we have with people who we lead, even in that area, or even in the dealing with with siblings or parents. And all of those relationships, pride does not work. Pride is a killer. And so I want you to really, and here's my solution, because you guys know I'm not going to always bring solutions. The thing that we need to do is we need to take an introspective look. We don't need to look outward, first of all, because anytime, let's be honest, anytime somebody, y'all know when you have a conversation with somebody, their first response is, well, you did, or something like that, where you say, listen, this is something that happened, that in the scenario or the situation, and it bothered me, or it hurt my feelings, or this wasn't the right thing to do. And their first response is a defensive response to say, well, you did this, so I did that. That is and often a fear or a prideful response. And so I need us to take an introspective look and to notice when that happens. And when we notice that it happens, take an examination to find out what was it, or what is it about this scenario that makes me respond the way that I respond, because that is not healthy. Even if, let's be clear, even if there was a reason why you responded the way that you did, or there was a legitimate reason why you responded the way you did, for some reason your pride kicked in and all of a sudden you responded in a negative way. Hear me when I say this also. There is a difference between confidence and pride. Okay? So there's a huge difference between being confident and pride, because I'm not one of those people who are telling you guys, or who think that we should just walk around all, with your head down and saying, that I'm just a lowly nobody and I should just take. No, I'm not saying that you should take things from people, that you should get beat up on, that you should be abused. I am not suggesting that at all. As a matter of fact, I believe that we should flee relationships like that as soon as possible. But I am saying that we have to look to see, do I have pride in an area that is choking the growth of my relationships? Because if I am, the problem is not them, the problem is me. And in any situation, your first look should be introspective to figure out what is it I can do better. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're always to blame, so to speak, but it does mean that we want to grow through it and not allow pride to grow through us. Because ultimately what happens is, pride is, if you trace pride all the way back, it really goes to the spirit of witchcraft. which is something that we don't want to do. Witchcraft meaning manipulation and control. So again, I just want to encourage you guys. Listen, don't let pride. Let me tell you this. So I was talking to a couple this morning, and I asked how they were doing, and she said, "Well, we're not together." And I said, "Well, why aren't you?" They were both there. I said, "Well, what's going on?" And her comment, the comment was he's she said, what she said. She said, "Well, he don't never do anything right." She said this in front of him, and I said, "Well, he never does anything right?" She said, "Well, yeah, he does." I said, "Well, why do you keep saying to him that he doesn't do things right? And how do you think, as a man, he feels being with a wife who thinks or verbalizes that he doesn't do anything right?" She agreed that her response was incorrect, but agreed that she didn't feel like, but also said that she didn't feel like that she should make the adjustment to not say, to control the words that came from her mouth. She said, "Well," and I asked her, I said, "Well, why, they're separated." I said, "Well, why are you guys separated?" And she said, "Well, I asked him, I did tell him that I wanted him to leave, but I didn't really want him to leave." And so I asked her, I said, "Well, why do you think that he left?" And she said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "But you asked him. If you asked him to leave and he honored your request, why are you upset that he did what you said?" "Well, because I really didn't mean it." And I said, "Well, honey, you can't do that, because when you deal with men specifically, if you ever ask us to leave, unfortunately, our pride kicks in and we're going to do what you say, because now you have hit a place of rejection that most men can't handle." And so she said, "Why?" She said her comment to me was, "But I asked him to come home and now he won't come home." And I asked her, I said, "But you told him to leave. So once you told him to leave, in his mind, you were done. And now you're saying, whoops, wait a second. Why should he leave when in his mind you think he wants you gone?" And so she just looked at me like, "Well, I don't know." And so I had to ask him, if she's asked you to come home, why is it that you won't come home? And so we talked through that. And so I had to just be honest with him and say, "Man, listen, this is the woman that you chose. You tell me you love her. Listen, both of you have to stop operating in the spirit of pride. Both of you have to decide that pride has to die in you individually and work your marriage out." I'm telling you all, listen, that is the same thing that we have to do across the board. We all have to slay the pride that is in our hearts, that is in our lives, that is in our minds, that makes us do things, or that tries to control. It doesn't make us, but tries to control us to do things that we know are not healthy, or not do things that we don't want to. That simple. So I want to encourage you guys, very simply, kill pride. Kill pride. And the only way to kill pride, again, is to first, yes, Lisa, is to be mindful of our communication. But first, you've got to say, "Listen, I don't want this. I have to walk in humility. I have to walk in humility, even if it hurts. I've got to walk in humility." And in your mind, begin again, just to always, in every scenario, be humble. Again, not abused, but be humble. And once you do that, you'll begin to see the areas of your life that pride has taken a hold and taken root, and you'll begin to be able to work through them. So I hope that helps you. Again, like I said, I don't want to be long, but I just wanted to tell you guys, listen, we all have work to do, again, up to and including your boy here. So we're going to get better. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to kill this pride, and we're going to operate in a healthy place of confidence, but in a place of humility that honors and pleases our partners, as well as builds us up, as well as pleases the Father. So again, I appreciate y'all. Do me a favor again, hit that share button on the left if you have not had the opportunity. If you haven't done that, I really, really appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys later. Yeah, you're right, Corey. Slay it, man. Slay it. We don't need it. We don't need pride. So, all right, guys. Love y'all. I talk to you.